We're making firecracker beef and broccoli meal prep. It's low in carbs, high in protein, and it's relatively cheap and easy to make. We'll start with 2 heads of broccoli. These are on the medium to large size. We can stand these up and then just slice the florets around from the stem, but definitely don't throw the stem away because we will be using this in the recipe. As for the florets, you might end up with some large ones. We just want to make sure that these are all the same size, just so they cook at the same rate. They don't have to be too small or too big, just make sure that they're bite size. Now with the stems, we are going to be using the whole lot apart from that woody end, which can be removed. Then we can slice these in half and slice each half into about 2 or 3 strips depending on size. Rotate 90 degrees and then slice into even sized pieces, pretty much the same size as the florets, just so that it cooks at all the same rate. These are packed with fiber and so much flavor, so definitely don't throw these away. Moving on, we're going to need 4 cloves of garlic and 10 grams of ginger that's been peeled. Both of these can be run along a microplane to create pastes, and the garlic's going to be used in the firecracker beef, and our ginger is going to be used in our cauliflower rice. Now to a bowl, add 70 milliliters of both light soy sauce and apple cider vinegar to create sweet, salty, and acidic flavors. 90 grams of sriracha sauce, this is going to create heat and a little bit of tang. You can use any hot sauce of your choice, and 35 grams of brown sugar to help caramelize the meat once it's been cooked. All that needs to be done with this is give it a quick mix, and this right here is our really easy and simple firecracker sauce. I mentioned cauliflower rice before, that's what we're doing in this recipe. It is a low carb alternative to regular rice, but by all means use regular rice if you wanted to. But with this, we're just going to slice 1 cauliflower in half and then cut it into big chunks. You can use a box grater on the larger side if you don't have a blender, but I am going to put it into a blender in batches. What we're going to do with this is just put it over a high speed just for about 30 seconds just to break it up into a coarse mixture. You don't want it to be really fine because a lot of the moisture will come out and it will just become soggy, but all we're looking for is that really nice coarse look, looking like this, and then this can just be popped aside for the time being. Place a large high-rimmed pan or pot over high heat. We're going to add in 1 tablespoon of peanut oil. You can use olive oil or vegetable oil if you wanted to. Then we're going to add in all of that coarse cauliflower along with a pinch of sea salt flakes, and all we're going to do with this is mix it around and saute for about 4 minutes just until it becomes soft. We're not looking for too much color here, but what we're mainly focusing on is just cooking a little bit of that moisture out, and some people do say pat it dry and all of that stuff, but it really isn't that necessary. Next to go in is the ginger for infusion. I'm also going to add in a little mix of sesame seeds, which are white and black. This is completely optional. We're also going to add in 7.5 milliliters of sesame oil for a nice nutty flavor, sea salt flakes to taste, and cracked black pepper. 20 cracks worth. Let's then get in there and cook this for 1 final minute just to break up that ginger and get it infused into the cauliflower, also concentrating on mixing that sesame oil through just so it has that slight nutty flavor. This can then be removed from the stovetop, and right here is the macros for the cauliflower rice, and like I said, you can use regular rice if you wanted to, but this is just a low alternative. With that out of the way, place a large pot over a high heat. We're going to add in half a tablespoon of peanut oil, or vegetable oil, or olive oil, and add in 1 kilo of beef mince. This can then be spread out and then hit up with a little bit of sea salt flakes to taste. Leave it for 3 minutes to start browning off, then mix it through. Unfortunately, this is 18% fat beef. I couldn't get 10%, but if you can, definitely use that instead because otherwise you will have to drain a little bit of the fat. I will also include the nutrition cards for this using the 10% fat, so don't worry about that. After the 3 minutes, just continue cooking it for another 2 to 3 minutes just until everything is completely browned off. Then we can add in that minced garlic for a nice infusion, and we're also going to add in all of that broccoli along with the stems, 1 teaspoon of chili flakes which are optional, another pinch of sea salt flakes, and we're going to hit it up with some cracked black pepper. 10 cracks worth. Now with that all in, give this all a really good mix through, making sure that that broccoli gets coated and it gets covered in the beef mince just so it can cook evenly, and we're going to cook this for about 5 minutes, just stirring it every now and again. Now after 5 minutes, the broccoli will start to soften up a little bit, but it won't be cooked through just yet. We can add in the firecracker sauce. Now we're going to bring this to a boil and just continuously mix this for another 2 to 3 minutes, just so that sauce can start reducing. And we can also cover this with a lid, which will help the broccoli cook and become al dente, which is where we want it. If you do happen to cover it with a lid, it is optional, but I do recommend turning the heat down to a medium just so it doesn't overboil. The last thing to go into this, other than extra seasoning, is 125 milliliters of chicken stock. This can just be given a good mix through for those flavors to become friends. This is going to make it extra saucy. Cover it again with a lid, turn the heat down to medium, and cook for about 2 minutes just for it to slightly reduce. Remove the lid and remove it from the stovetop. Like I said before, the macro card is calculated for the 10% fat, so this is all of the correct measurements right here. Serving up is also super easy. These are 750 milliliter containers, and I'm going to divide everything by 5, which is the cauliflower rice, the firecracker beef and broccoli, and then also be sure to spoon over any extra sauce. Garnishes are optional. I'm adding over some spring onion or scallion, along with a wedge of lime in each container. But with all of that done, we're then left with these super easy and absolutely delicious firecracker beef and broccoli, cauliflower rice meal prep bowls. For storage on these, just allow them to cool down slightly before covering them with lids. These can last up to 4 days in the fridge and up to 4 months in the freezer. If you use the vacuum seal pump, which I usually use, they'll last an extra day. And for the final dish, these are all of the macros for everything included. Just like usual, let's make this all worthwhile, and that is, we can then dig in.
This right here has all of the components to be the perfect dish. It's sweet, it's salty, it's acidic, there's texture, and there is so much flavor. The cauliflower rice absorbs that sauce really well, and it does have a little bit of a kick to it. You don't have to add all of the chili that I added, you can limit it down, and I'll leave substitutes about that in the description below. Overall, this is an absolutely incredible dish. It will set you up for the week, it's super easy to make, and it's relatively cheap too. Thanks for watching.